Is there still like a North Star or a fixed point that you want to stay true to?
Yeah, I don't know. I always know when I'm being too influenced. That's the one thing in my stomach. Just like queasy stomach.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the record. I really loved it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy.
What do you mean?
It's just like, yeah, it's a whole different experience from what I've been doing before, so it's nice.
Like before, you've been doing EPs kind of quietly.
Yeah, it's been just like really like, behind a big wall, really. And so now I'm kind of outside and it's crazy.
What's the weirdest thing about it?
Just being around people.
You mean literally you've been in...
like physically being around people.
Physically? So what have you been doing
I'm
up
like a very
until now?
isolated person.
What does
like
that mean?
Everything just like is on my own. I do everything on my own.
Right.
Send it online to my brother and like go see my brother and that's it, So yeah, now I'm like outside with you and people and it's crazy.
How are you finding it? How are you finding knowing that a lot of people are going to hear this thing soon?
I mean, I feel like, not in a negative way, I feel nothing about it, which is really good. I feel very neutral, which I thought like would be very different. The neutrality is like, I think really refreshing.
We were just talking about your listening to music with your dad before you came in, because I told you I had listened to your record and you said something really no one's ever said to me before. You said, "What were you doing while you were listening to it?" And I said, I was just sitting down and listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it's common, people passively listen now to everything.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do that.
It's hard. It's hard now.
So you told me you sometimes listen to music with was it with your dad and your brother?
Yeah, so my dad and I still, we just put on records, CDs, records. We just sit there. There's no TV on.
What kind of music was playing around the house when you were growing up?
Well, I was lucky because he was playing with everybody. He was playing with like Jeff Beck, Aretha Franklin, just like everybody on trumpet. My dad's a beast. And
what's your dad's name?
Charlie Gray.
How did he get into that world?
Well, he was actually doing like Quirks and Quirks theme songs, and and he was mixing and mastering. And his record, Past, Present, Future, is like one of the most like iconic. It's like a national treasure, but nobody knows about it. It's not even on DSPs because he's so old school. But it's all I listened to when I was a kid. And my mom was a classical piano teacher. Immigrant to Canada, single-handedly owns like one of the biggest piano schools by herself in the city. Like I was like walking through the hallways and all the artists, I'm like, oh yeah, my mom teaches that person's kid, oh, I know her. You know what I mean? It's like all through my mom, She's a G. And so it was just like the juxtaposition of like, I don't know, my brother was listening to like metal, Led Zeppelin. My dad had like church music and like, I don't know, Aretha playing, and then my mom had like Bach and Rachmaninoff playing. So it was just like crazy.
What were you drawn towards? What side of that thing in the early days?
I don't think I had any like preference. Just music was like, it was just a frequency to me. I wasn't like, oh, I love that, I remember Sgt. Pepper though. When he played me Sgt. Pepper, I was like, that's the shit.
What was it about it?
How crazy it was. I think I loved the recording. I loved the vocals. I loved like the processing. I think everyone still feels that way about the Beatles, just the way that was recorded. Just like how intimate and then far away you are from the band and how close you feel and how far away. It's just like, it's sick.
Did you, so your brother kind of owned metal, your dad kind of owned jazz and church music, and your mom kind of owned classical music. Did you eventually find music that was kind of all your own?
No, I think I went into like R&B, which was like, no one had really gone there. And I was like gigging, and I was like, any musician in the city knows that I was like gigging in the city, playing like all these like little clubs on King Street back in the day when those were open. And I was doing like all these like, Michael Jackson cover band, when I was like 13 subbing for like 40-year-olds,
Yeah, let me.
So it's like,
I want to get to that. So like I find this really interesting. So you were, what I read was that you were playing piano before you could talk. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
What does that mean?
I've been a really quiet person my whole life, but then I've always made music. And so I think like people are always like, this kid is like the little emo. It was like, is that a boy or a girl? And is that like, it was just so emo and like strange as a child. But then when I got on an instrument, everyone was like, oh, what the hell is going on there? Because it's like there was so much going on, like with my playing or just the feel of it. And I think it really surprised people, and I was really lucky because then I got gigs from that, you know?
I get really moved when stuff like that happens. Like I have some friends who are like really quiet, really, really shy, and they don't really say a word. And I'm not like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
I talk for a living. Now, I'm a little more like it when I'm not on the clock, but like I talk for a living.
Yeah.
And these friends who I'm referring to are like brilliant musicians, and some of them are brilliant improvisers. And I go, oh, that's their talking. Like that's their communication. That's how I'm seeing. They're not revealing their personality or who they are to me through words. They're revealing it to me through that thing. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I've never really had a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of opportunity to socialize, you know. My mom ran the music school in my house. So it was like I grew up in the music school. Like my brother and I like had a room, and that was basically it. You know, it was like Furley's from like 7 a.m. to like 11 p.m.
Furley's.
Every day. Like straight up.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Da-da-da-da-da, just haunting your brain.
Oh, like we're traumatized now, and it's hilarious. But I'm grateful for it now, you know.
So you ended up joining the house band at a Jamaican Pentecostal church when you were how old?
Oh, yeah, I was like 15, 16.
How does that happen?
I was just really, to be honest, I was playing bass covers like on like Instagram when it was just starting. You know, Instagram like wasn't cool. Like it was like no one was on it. And me and Alicia, who was this amazing other bass player, we started posting covers.
Like what tunes?
Just like Tamala Man covers or like Kirk Franklin or just like, you know, some like Brazilian stuff, like whatever I could get my hands on I was playing to. I just started filming, and people were just like, who is this random Asian girl from Canada ripping bass? And I used to shed all day. That's all I did, you know? And then I think I was really lucky, yeah, because then people online from like all around the world and pop gigs were like, yo, do you want to play in our church in like Memphis or wherever? And then so I started playing in Toronto. Yeah, and it was like, I don't know, I just got adopted by a community, and it really changed the way I play.
How?
Because it's just ear training. I mean, you've got someone just throwing signs at you for like, you know, 10 hours sometimes. And
throwing
like,
signs meaning like 1, 4, 5,
yes,
6.
and you have to completely understand what's happening. Like, it's just like the intuition is on another level. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy thinking about it. It's like a whole different, I don't even know who that is. You know, I see photos and I'm like, what's going on?
How did you find playing in front of people?
Oh, I've never had an issue, yeah.
No?
I mean, I was forced to. Like, my mom forced us to play in front of people, like, immediately, you know? Like, my brother was, like, immediately a prodigy when he was, like, 9. He was, like, 2nd-degree black belt and, like, in, like, kendo championships. Like, it was just, like, we had a very Japanese upbringing that way where she was just, like, kendo, taekwondo, da-da-da. You know what I mean? It was just, like, really serious and really elite. And if you didn't perform to that standard, you could go. Like, yeah, it's very common. I mean, I'm grateful for it now. I hated it when I was young, but honestly, now I look at her, I'm like, you are a G, because like everything I have is because of her discipline, you know? So even like my fashion sense, everything is like fully just my mom, like embodied.
When you started playing, you told me you were like 13 and playing with all these like 40-year-old
yeah,
grown-up musicians.
I mean, yeah, I had like a fake ID, and I was like playing around the city, like in clubs and stuff, and everyone thought I was like 22, but really I was like literally 17.
Tell me about that. What do you remember about that?
I mean, it was sick. Like the musicians in this city are so good. Like this city is insane. Like from Larnell Lewis to his brother to like, you know, we've got like all these unbelievable musicians here. And they're kind of like secret until they get to a level where like the whole world knows about them. And I think I love that about Toronto, whereas you're like kind of like hiding, and then everyone's like, where did this person come out fully formed and like such a beast, you know? But yeah, when I was a kid, I don't know, I just was like starting to get calls, and for me, I was like, that's what I saw my dad do, you know? So I was like, another day in the job, like I literally was like, I barely made it through high school. I was already gigging through high school. I was already making my own money. I don't know, it just was like a natural progression. I was like, this is better than working at a restaurant, you know? Did
your dad give you any advice about like working as a gigging musician?
No, I mean, like, this is just what we did. Like, the whole family did it. My uncle does it. My uncle's like an insane trombone player.
Does he play?
Phil Gray. Yeah, he's around the city. Everyone like knows him. He's just a beast. My uncle is also an amazing musician. My cousins are, you know, like my uncle wrote Billy Bishop Goes to War, so that's why I was here in CBC. That's why I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, my dad was recording it and mastering it and everything. And so it's like, you know what I mean? I've been in this world for so long, but like kind of behind the scenes. But no one could prepare me for what happened. Like, being a young woman playing bass in the industry is a very different thing than being like a trumpet player in the 70s. You know what I mean?
Tell me.
Smashing it. I don't know. It's nobody prepares you for the deceit and the like the crazies and the like 40-year-old men that are like trying to wheel and deal you, you know, and offering you things. And yeah, I got really tossed around for a good like 8 years before I could like sign in the UK and do my own stuff.
Tossed around meaning?
Just like signing deals and like the gigging scene. Now it's very different because of Me Too, and a lot of people have platforms and people are scared to act up. But when I was like 18, 19 getting these offers, there were so many creepy people. It was so dangerous.
Right.
It was so dangerous as like an 18-year-old girl going on a team of 10 men, 15, 35 men in their 30s to 40s, you know what I mean? And their intentions, and it just was so crazy, the amount of shit gone through, you know? And now I'm in a place where I can like help other people or warn people or, you know what I mean, trying to navigate younger women that I like refer to gigs. But yeah, it's a really intense industry. And if you don't have the right mentor or like a solid foundation or honestly just protection, like you can really get screwed around with.
Thank you for telling me that. When you become MD, a musical director for folks like Daniel Caesar.
So I played bass for Daniel.
And you were an MD?
I wasn't MD. That was Matthew Burnett. And then Matt Burnett, who's an incredible musical director and musician and producer and manager.
I know
honestly,
Matthew, yeah.
Yeah, they're incredible. He was starting to MD. And it's just a natural progression because he's just fantastic. And he was like, yo, do you want to start helping me? So I started helping him. And it's funny because now everyone's like, oh, you're MD Willow, all these people. And I'm like, no, like I was helping Matthew. And it was just such an amazing experience. And then he just trusted me to kind of do things on my own as well. Like he would send me to LA with her band and be like, yo, put this together, get this arrangement together or whatever. And it was incredible. I mean, it was just like an amazing experience. I think I am way too weird to be in any kind of job like that. Even playing bass for somebody else, like I just could never do it. I just was like, I have my own way of running my life. And I feel like I just like, working a steady job where I have to be somewhere at a certain time because of a system of, you know, the job is saying this, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I've never been able to do it.
I think I understand. Like these are Daniel Caesar and Willow Smith. Like these are massive, you know, Bonnaroo-y, Coachella-y, big gig. I mean, they're massive, big gigs with a lot of pressure, a lot of attention, and a real machine behind them.
Yeah, it's more just like showing up to rehearsals at a certain time, and I gotta like, you know, tell people what to do. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather work with birds and stuff. You know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you when you're in that world? What do you? I mean, no shame to birds. When you're in that world, that sort of high pressure, big money gig world.
Yeah.
What's something that you notice that makes you go either I want more of this or I want less of this? Do you know what I mean?
With Daniel, it was amazing because I love the music, and he's an amazing person, and just like it was an incredible team. But if I have to wear black or if I have to wear a certain outfit, like I just can't. Like honestly, it started getting to the point where I was like, for some people that like works, you know, but because I knew what I was doing behind the scenes, and honestly, his team, every team that I've ever worked for, I've been really lucky because every single gig I've ever had, like. Play with Liam Payne and his manager Steve Finnan, who's this amazing manager. He was like, what are you doing playing bass? Like, you need to be an artist. And then Matt and Jordan were like, yo, why are you not an artist? And then every single person I had worked with along the way were like, why are you not an artist? This is crazy, you know? And I mean like every single person that I was ever playing with. And I think it wasn't until like, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, I was like, what am I doing? Like, do I really want to still wear black and like put my hair in a ponytail and like play bass, or do I want to just do what I want to do?
What was that moment? What precipitated like you've been thinking about it for a while. What precipitated the?
I mean, I was getting a lot of offers, like a lot of offers from labels. A lot of people were offering me like amazing deals, and then I signed the wrong one and got stuck in a deal for like 2 to 4 years, I would say. with a producer, and it was really brutal over COVID. And that really like stunted everything. But then it ended up being amazing in the end, because one thing about this industry is like chaos creates like attraction. And what ended up happening was a lot of labels ended up trying to like buy me out of that deal. And then I met Jamie Oborn in the UK, and he just was like, we just really like saw eye to eye on the creative, and he saw my vision. He saw how weird I was at the beginning, and he was like, I think I know what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years with you, you know?
My question is like, what, like you were playing with all, you know, Liam Payne, by the way.
Yeah, it's like R.I.P.
I'm so sad to hear about that.
Yeah,
I didn't know you
person.
knew him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been so hard.
Yeah, the whole band, everybody. I mean, yeah, it's really sad. He was such a genuine soul, like a pure soul.
So when you're at that level, I mean, you could have gone on to play with anybody. You could have gone on to play with Beyonce. You could have gone on to play with.
Yeah, I was getting offers. I mean, I was getting offers before I played with Daniel, but I just like really liked Daniel's music.
Who was offering you? Who was?
There's so many. I mean, like, when I was 18, I got offered like Nick Jonas and all these different like huge gigs were coming through.
Wow.
And honestly, what was really cool is that there was a few of us. There was Alicia, Zuri, incredible bass players. I know you talked to Maddie J as well. There's a few bass players that were female.
Yeah, Maddie's out with Lord.
And everyone was kind of just offering each other their gigs, because they were just like, yo, you want to play with da-da-da? You want to play? Like, there's so many. And to me, I don't know, I just have never cared. I think being raised around that and having my dad play with some of the biggest people in the world.
Aretha Franklin.
And honestly, like, my dad's like environment were, you know, like Eric Peterson and all these amazing, incredible, huge musicians, actors, classical musicians, opera singers, huge people. And fame just doesn't, you know what I mean? I just don't, it never really, I was never just like, oh, I'm playing with da-da-da. I was just like, do I like the music or do I not?
So what's the moment where you, like, what I'm curious about is not like how the labels got to you and all that kind of stuff, but like all these people big up in the industry are saying to you, hey, when are you going to make a record? Hey, when are you going to go solo?
Yeah.
Obviously there's a moment where you say, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think I signed the wrong deal.
But like, what was the moment that you wanted to do it in the first place? What was the moment where you went, I want to go solo in the first place?
I mean, I was kind of just like, this is the natural progression. I'm not someone who thinks a lot.
Yeah, you and I got that in common.
You're like, you know, you're like asking me like the finite details. I'm like not somebody who's like, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm just not.
No, I'm not talking about the plan. I'm talking about like, was there a moment you were on stage playing someone else's song, wearing black, and you were like, I can't do this anymore. I got to do my own thing.
I knew it from the beginning. I thought I was just going to work with animals the whole time. Like, I was like, okay, when am I going to stop doing this? But then it's like the check's so good when you're playing bass for those, like, you know, those gigs. And I was like, all right, I'll keep doing this. But I was like, I could also just like go get a couple credits and go into veterinary school and then like be a zoologist, like genuinely, you know, and work with like felines and apex predators and like, you know, but you just, I don't know. I just was like, this is the natural progression. I kept getting more offers, more gigs. And I was like, it's one of those things you're like, all right, I'll take it again. I'll take this next tour. I'll do this one little thing. I'll do this one little show, you know?
Until one day you go, I want to make my own music.
Well, I made music the whole time. That's the whole thing. Is like, I was making my own music the whole time. Like, since I was a kid. So like on 19 Masters, like the first record, which is so weird. Now I listen back, I'm like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever made. But like, there's music on there from when I was like 13.
Well, let me give some context here. 19 Masters, the record that Sai is referring to here is, a lot of old music. There are a lot of old voice memos on that.
Yeah, it's all voice memos.
And you were gigging with other musicians when you were making that?
Yeah, and I had originally made like a big record with a producer, and then it ended up really sour. So then I ended up just like pulling all the demos back, and that's why it's called 19 Masters, because masters are what they call songs in a contract. And the whole thing is being packaged, right? It's like a packaged deal.
19 Masters, Time Magazine called it one of the best albums of the year. It gets written up on all these end of the year 2022 lists.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
What was that like for you?
I mean, I don't care about lists. Like, you know what I mean? For me, I'm like, I watch some of the best musicians in the fucking world broke at 80, you know what I mean? And they've influenced their entire generation, and everyone around them is rich except for them, you know? So it's like, for me, I like don't care about lists, but I found it hilarious being like beside Beyonce and like 19 Masters is there, which I made with like maybe $5. Like, I'm not kidding, like $5.
Was it surprising?
And I mean, I was just like, what are you guys on? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of juice are you guys like sipping? And like, give me some.
I think it might have been because it's a really good record.
I don't know. I mean, it's made with voice notes, you know, and I understand like it's different. It just was like, I found it really funny.
Does that mean like literally you sang into your iPhone?
Yes, it was made. It was made with $5. Like, not even kidding. And then maybe like a couple mixing people that like I got along the way, you know. But it's crazy shit.
I'm into it. And now that leads us to your debut full-length record.
Yeah. So then I started making QWERTYs, which were just fun. I was just like, I'm gonna.
They took off.
I know, and it's so insane because I was just
These
making
two records,
them.
QWERTY 1 and QWERTY 2.
I made them on like an MPC, and then like my brother, we just like literally went back and forth and made like just the weirdest shit ever. And I was just sampling a lot, so I like write full songs all the time, and then I just sample them because I'm just like, it's too normal. And then I just start sampling them, and then yeah, I really wanted to like master the MPC and kind of just like have like just like a basic bitch moment in my life, and that's what QWERTY was, and it was just like me being crazy and chaotic. And then I just like was like, all right, enough of that. And then I made this record, went through a bunch of shit and just kind of cut everybody off, and then went traveling and made a record to like define that time.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's listen to a little bit of it. Saya Gray with H.B.W. off her debut album, Saya. I love that song. My understanding is, and you only have to tell me what you want to tell me here, ending of a relationship and you go to Japan for a cross-country road trip by yourself.
Yeah. In like vague terms, yes. It's kind of just like I needed to stop the chaos in my life. And also musically, I wanted to get to a place where I could produce for other people. And I feel like I was just so chaotic in the way I was producing. I'm not someone who references things. I think a lot of people go into like, I want to make this sound like that, or like this record's gonna sound like this. It's like I've never done that, and I think it's like a foreign concept for me. I just write whatever it is I'm going through, right? So if I'm gonna be calm, I need to like, or make a calm record, I need to be calm. If I'm gonna make a insane record, I'm gonna be insane. You know?
Okay.
And so with this, it was like my intention was like I really just wanted to start producing. And I love a lot of calm records. There's so many calm records I just love. And I was like, I'm going to just like cut the toxicity, you know what I mean? And just like changed my whole life. I moved to California. Yeah, and went through like a lot of changes, a lot of grief, and went on a massive road trip and took like a Japanese Fender that was like this big.
A Japanese Fender guitar, a little baby guitar.
A little baby.
Acoustic or electric?
Mini, tiny baby guitar. It was electric with a little whammy. And I had little snippets written already, but then I just finished them and I didn't bring my computer. So I was just like, I'm not going to produce them, because that's the thing, that's what I do, right? It's like, I'll make something a moment and then I'll go on my computer and I'll just sample it. And then I'll sample like 7 other songs onto it.
Right.
This was like, I'm not going to do that.
I understand, but I think I want to hear more about like, why did you go to Japan? And what did you see and what did you take in? And you know?
I did the whole of California, and then I went through Japan. And the whole thing was like, I found out a lot about my great-great-grandmother on my mom's side. And a lot of the trauma from my whole life comes down through that DNA. And there was a lot. She was a performer. She was married to someone with five wives. My grandma had to leave because of how, like, he was like a tycoon in Japan. It was unbelievable. It's just like an unbelievable story, like a movie, you know what I mean? And I realized that a lot of my traits, and probably a lot that I attract, it comes from that lineage and that ancestry. And that's why, like, on the cover, I wanted to like have an ode to her, like in a lot of like woodblock or a lot of that era. So I did like that time and that era of styling. And Japan was just, I went to where she was. I went all the way through Fuji Mountain and stayed in Kyoto for a couple weeks, and then I drove all the way through California. And for me, this record sounds like California to me, because like I moved to California all last year before the fires. And yeah, I needed space. And that's what I feel that I made with this.
What was your great-grandmother's name?
It's Sumi Watanabe. And but my baba left that family, so she ended up in Murata. So, but it's really deep, like, you know what I mean? And anyone from Japanese culture with an old family crest, has a lot of deep history there. There's so much history. And so I really wanted to take that into this record with the visuals and kind of have that as like the remnants, everything that I'm dealing with, you know, all the debris. And that's exactly what I had with the record and the cover.
I'm hesitant to ask this question because you've already told me that like you don't have some sort of master plan, and it seems incredibly organic the way you make music, and you go in and see what comes out, and you know.
Yeah.
So let me just say I know that, but I still want to ask this question anyway.
You don't believe me?
I believe you. Oh no, I believe you. Because I know people who make, I get it.
Yeah.
It's more that this is what I find interesting. You're someone who can, with a lot of chops. And what I mean by that is like you can kind of play anything. Some of that music you're talking about making, like church music, like playing Kirk Franklin music, is incredibly sophisticated music, very challenging music. I watched you on YouTube to get ready for this like 12 years ago, playing at the Kensington Market Jazz Festival in a combo, playing really sophisticated, tough music. And I know your music before this. Again, it's very sophisticated, great, awesome, very cool music. This record, to me, more than anything you've made before, seems closer to folk and to country music. Mm-hmm. What happened there? What's going on with that?
I mean, it's like all I listened to as well when I was a kid. I'm telling you, like there is no one genre I was raised in.
Sure.
Emmylou Harris, my brother introduced me to her. Raising Sand.
Mm-hmm. Alison Krauss and Robert
Alison
Plant.
Krauss. Oh, I love Alison Krauss. Dolly Parton, obviously. Glenn Campbell. You know what I mean? My brother has like a huge country phase as well. My brother's like just as crazy as me, but like we're like A-B side of crazy.
So why was that the music you were chasing when you were telling me this, like you're making this record about California and your grandmother? Why was that the music you were interested in making right now?
It was just like, that's storytelling, you know? I mean, you can storytell in any genre, but like Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, like just the way that you can like, and you can like front and back a story in folk, and like how, I don't know, certain people like Joni Mitchell paint metaphors and come around an entire, like it's almost like a catch-22 the way she writes. And I don't know, I felt that it was important. I don't know why. There's a nostalgia to it that I feel everyone feels.
Let's talk about another song. Take a listen to this. Saya Gray with her song Shell of a Man off her debut album, Saya. That's my favorite song on the record.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why?
That's a good question. I feel like if you said, that's my favorite song on the album, and I said, why? You'd go, I don't know. I just like music.
Is there something in it that you like, a moment?
Yeah, I love the little riff.
Yeah.
I like the steel a lot.
Yeah.
The pedal steel a lot, so I dug the steel. And I like a minor 4 a lot.
Yeah.
And anything with a minor 4.
Yeah, you gotta pick its moments though.
I kind of dig it. Yeah, you're right. It's like,
because you know what I mean. You gotta like sneak that in there.
I know, it's like broth in a soup. You don't want to put too much oxo in there.
This is like such a musician nerd moment.
Oh, believe me, no one will ever hear this part of the conversation whatsoever. But I do love a minor 4s so much.
Yeah.
That might be why. I also just, maybe organically just really love the song and like listening to it. And that was my favorite song on the record.
It was the first one that I wrote.
Tell me about that song. Tell me where it came from. Tell me what it's about.
It's really just like my hurt of the industry and people and a relationship, and like, when someone does something that's so, you're just like, where is your humanity? And I think we're all feeling that right now with like where the climate is of, it's just people in America. And it's that moment where you're looking at someone, you're like, you've actually become a shell of a man. Like you're actually just like a casing of flesh, and like your soul has left the building. And I've had so many situations like that where like I feel like I'm someone who just I'm constantly heartbroken over and over again by people, and it's like I have to stop feeling. It's like I have to like I need to become a sociopath in order to live my life.
I need to become a sociopath. You're getting hurt too much. You're believing too much in people.
Yes, and it's just like over and over and over again. I'm just like putting my trust and faith, and then it's like it comes to bite you. And I think one thing I feel that's happened, like, I guess the positive to that is just I've learned how to do everything by myself. So I don't have to rely on people now, And now I'm at the point where I can like do everything myself, but now I'm like picking and choosing better and having more discernment about the people in the industry and, and understanding and seeing the red flags before they happen. But yeah, I don't know. I just was like, if you don't like me now, you're going to hate me later because I'm about to be out here. You know what I mean? I'm about to be in your face. So, and it's like, yeah, call me rude and you haven't seen anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the whole thing. It's like that moment where you're just like, you really have no idea how far I can really go. And I've just been so tame and calm, And yeah, I don't know. It's a big one. It was like the biggest, like, kind of just talking shit, but on like a really like fun record,
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, no, I wrote it all. I made the demo, really like janky demo, and then I brought it to my band, John Mavro, who's an incredible writer. I've known him since I was like young. So everyone in my band is like I've known since I was young. And then he kind of helped me like arrange it, and then had H.G. on keys, and incredible keys, and producer, musician, artist, and my brother. And I very sped a lot of it, and then I had to learn it fast, which killed me because I had to learn that lick when I had sped it up on the recording. Yeah, that's why it sounds like all wonky. And then, I brought in Stu Young, who's an incredible engineer. You probably know him. And he was like, this stuff is insane. He was like, this is the largest. He said it was the largest stem count he's ever worked with in his life.
Stem count meaning like when you're looking at the page, when you're looking at the screen, and our engineer Salam's going to watch me do this now and I'm embarrassed. Like the when you're tracking the number of instruments that you would see in front of
you,
the number of tracks.
There was 400 something stems on every single song.
400 tracks.
And then I edited it all and produced it all. So like I put that all in my poor little baby computer, and my computer was like every like 4 seconds because it was just like, what are you doing to me, Saya? And it was just like literally it was
Is
like
that the computer's voice?
Yes, and it was literally like making that sound at me. It was screaming at me. So I might lose all those sessions and have to be like, Stu, help. But I don't know. He was incredible. His fingers are so fast. It's like a machine gun. Like literally, it's like when he's like. It's like crazy. It's crazy. He's the fastest engineer I've ever worked with. Most lovely human. And so it was nice to be able to like trust somebody else again, because I feel like I've just literally been like, and then I've just been like, all right, I'm going to learn how to do everything, if I'm going to get screwed over. And then this time I was like, I'm going to bring it to the band because they're not going to screw me over. And, bring it to Stu because he's not going to screw me over.
That's beautiful, learning how to trust people again. It's a beautiful thing. I find you're an artist that's really hard to pin down in terms of the music that you make, and I think that's been pretty clear in this conversation as well. And I think once people expect you to do one thing, you tend to do another thing, and you seem to be, well, I guess the last question I wanted to ask you is, when there's so many different things that you do, and when there's an expectation on you and then you change that and you do something completely different, is there still like a North Star or a fixed point that you want to stay true to?
Yeah, I don't know. I always know when I'm being too influenced. That's the one thing in my stomach. Just like queasy stomach. If I know I'm being influenced.
Being influenced, so you're trying to sound like someone else.
Or just like something, or like someone's opinion's too strong, or if there's like someone's energy in it that's too strong. That's the one thing. The one thing I do know. I don't know many things, and I don't know what's happening with a lot of many things. But the one thing I do know is when I'm like moving off the boat. You know what I mean? Like when I get off the boat. I'm immediately like, nope, that song needs to go, or that thing needs to go, or whatever, that person needs to go. Whatever it is that's influencing me too much needs to go. Because influence is like, that's the most powerful thing for me. That is like the disease, I guess.
So your North Star is sort of originality.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of ease. And as soon as I feel that like, ooh, that's not me, or whatever it is, authenticity, I guess, or yeah, as soon as I feel that influence, I mean, everyone feels it now because of the algorithm, like everyone's like being pulled, As soon as I feel that pull, I'm like, nope, I have to like go right back. And that's the one thing I do know.
I think you made a great record, and I think it's only going to get bigger from here.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Congratulations on it.
Thanks.